everyone. So for this video, I am going to show you how to use Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax. My kids think that name is hilarious, and it kind of is. Kind of funny, kind of catchy. Best Dang Wax. So I have made some farmhouse tables. We used this, or we came up with this. We got this when we cut up some bed frames. My husband cut them up for me and sanded them and attached some legs to them for me. And I would like to get just a little bit more color to it, a little bit more variety to the color. So I am going to use Dixie Belle's wax, their Best Dang Wax. In the past, you've seen me use glaze, and it gives a similar effect, but the wax is just a little bit different, just to give me a little bit of a different look. Dixie Belle has colored wax, and they also have clear wax. For this, I'm going to use the colored wax. I really like their Grunge Gray wax. And so we have our Dixie Belle Best Dang Wax in Grunge Gray. And it's a soft wax. It comes out really easily. And there you can see the grungy grayness of it. And I'm going to get my lint-free cloth. Now, if I was using a larger piece for this, I'd probably put the cloth over most of my hand. Since this is a small piece, I'm just going to take 2 fingers, wrap my cloth in it, and I'm just going to take it and get some wax. And it's pretty simple. I just start applying it to the piece. And so on this one, I don't want quite as much discoloration to it. And the nice thing is that I can still get my baby wipe if I want to and get rid of the wax on the parts that I don't like. Another really awesome thing about Best Dang Wax is when you use the colored wax, if you really don't like the look that you've gotten, you can use the clear wax as an eraser, and you can erase the parts that you don't like. So that is really a bonus for using this. You have an eraser. And there you're kind of getting the worn look, and also just giving yourself some variety in color and just adding a little bit more to it. I'm probably going to take my baby wipe to this section because I don't like it being that solid. Now, if you just want to change the color of the piece as well and just get a whole new color, you can make it solid over the piece. I tend to like it a little less solid and just add some streaks of color. I like how it gives it almost kind of a wood grain look. Just dip and get some more wax, and really you can see it's not using very much wax at all. So it's gonna, I've had that for a while, it's gonna go a long way. I'm gonna do this so I can see it. Okay, and so I've got some spots that are a little too solid for my taste, especially right here. So I'm going to go back over it with my baby wipe. Again, I got these at Dollar Tree. $1 for a package of 72. Just kind of take some of it off of there. that out. That's a little more of the look I wanted. It's got a little bit of it off. Just a little bit of wiping makes a big difference. And now I want to get my edges. It's my favorite part to glaze or wax or sand is the edge. Because it just gives you more of a natural, worn look. Because as I've said before, this is where it's naturally going to wear anyway. If you don't want a solid of a look with the wax, try to get as far as you can without putting more wax on, even though that's what I'm about to do. And you'll get just a little bit more of a scattered look. It's hard for me to see it with the light on, but I'm pretty sure I'm getting the look that I want. Again, I'm going to take my baby wipe and just go around the edges and just make sure it's not completely solid on there so that I have two shades instead of just one. And that's it. Now with this piece, I had sanded the edges ahead of time. I used my electric sander. I used the mouse sander. And that is a sander with a triangular shape so that it can get into little crevices. And so that gave me the look that I wanted. And it was really, really simple. That didn't take me long at all. The wax, the Best Dang Wax makes it pretty dang easy. So this is the Grunge Gray. They also have black. And I believe there is white as well that Dixie Belle sells. And now that we have that, and also, I'm sorry, with the Best Dang Wax, if you let it dry for a couple hours, I prefer to let it dry overnight, then you can cover it with gator hide. You can let wax be its own sealant. I like to use the gator hide or the clear coat just to be safe. But with Best Dang Wax, I think they do recommend that you put the gator hide over it rather than the clear coat. All right, so here's something else that we can do with Best Dang Wax, and this is using the clear wax. I have used it on Blueberry to get a worn look, a worn weathered look, although this is just a little bit of a different worn weathered look. It's not the one that you get with sanding or glaze or wax. Although there is wax on here, it's used to hold Dixie Dirt to it. And this was something new to me when I was introduced to Dixie Belle, and I love it. It is, I just love how it gets this shaded look to it. And it is sold in little 4-ounce containers. Okay, so I had the wrong container, and my husband went and got the actual Dixie Dirt for me. And this is Earth Dixie Dirt. They also have charcoal. And it also comes in ash. And I love to use the Earth Dixie Dirt with this blueberry color. I think it softens it just enough. And so I used it on this farmhouse tray. And then I also used it on these pillars. And I typically put wax around the edges or wherever I want to have the Dixie Dirt, and then I will brush it on. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So again, I have it on these pillars, and I really love the look that it gives to your pieces. Alright, so I am going to complete my set by adding it to this pillar. And so what I'm going to do first is get another lint-free cloth. I like to use a bigger one for this because for one end I'm going to put the clear wax on, and then on the other end I'm going to use it to buff my Dixie Dirt after I've applied it. Alright, so first we get our clear Best Dang Wax. Looks similar, but just has a different name on it. And it looks white when you open it up. Mine has a little bit of Dixie Dirt in it. And, but it is clear. It dries clear. Okay, so I just use one finger for this. I just wrap my lint-free cloth in one finger. Get some wax on there, not a whole lot. And I'm just going to apply it to the edges here. And you don't have to hurry to get the dirt on too much. They say to wait about 5 minutes. Sometimes I wait a little less and it's okay. Still goes on nicely. So I'm going to apply it to my edges where I want the color. And the nice thing about the Dixie Dirt is you don't really have to get a perfect line when you're applying this because it kind of fades. So it doesn't really have to be applied perfectly. And now I'm not going to go up and down each and every divot here. I'm just going to take some random spots and just apply the wax to them. Again, you know that you don't want it to be uniform when you do this kind of thing, except for the edges, because you know naturally it's not going to wear in a uniform manner. You do want to kind of rub your wax in so that it's not super white or clumpy. Got a couple clumps there that I want to rub in. Okay. I'm going to get this edge down here. My hair is everywhere. Got to be careful about that. Don't want to get it stuck in my paint. Alright, so that was pretty simple. It was pretty fast, and I applied it to the spots where I wanted it. And I'll just tell you a little bit about the Dixie Dirt so we can give this just a couple minutes before we apply it. It, obviously you see the size of container. It goes a long way. I've used this on several projects already, and I don't know if you can see, but it's still pretty full. And it looks like dirt. It kind of reminds me of powder that you put on your face for makeup. And you apply it, I apply it with this kind of brush because when I get my brushes from Walmart, they come in a pack of two. One for applying the chalk paint and one for applying the sealer. Well, since I use my blue sponges now to apply the sealer, I use this to apply my Dixie Dirt. And so it works out quite nicely. Although I haven't bought as many of these because I do use my Dixie Belle synthetic brushes. Alright, so it does make a little bit of a mess, so you're going to want to have either a drop cloth down or a piece of plastic, or even for something this small, do it over a piece of newspaper. And I just tap it in there, and I tap off a little bit of the excess. You don't want to get it all off, but it does have a lot on there, so you want to tap it a little bit. And then I just brush it on. Let me move this because I don't want it to get in the wax, because this has not been sealed yet. All right, so again, you have a little bit of dustiness, and I probably didn't even tap it enough that time. But the effect that you have in the end is so nice. It's worth it. Now, I don't put wax on every section, but I kind of do try to brush over each section just so you get that nice faded look. And it's not just, it just doesn't stop and start somewhere. So some of it will stick to those sections anyway. You kind of see the look there. I am going to buff it, and it's going to look a little different when I buff it. It's kind of fun to get to play in the dirt. Okay, so I'm just going to get those sections there even if I didn't wax them. It will leave a little bit of color behind sometimes. All right, I'm going to dip again. Tap it off a little bit more because I didn't like how much I had that time. And just brush it on. Sometimes, because I like to be conservative, I'll get a little bit of the dust that falls onto the newspaper or plastic or drop cloth and use some of that too. If you look on my page, I think you will see at least one piece, if not more, that I've used Dixie Dirt on. There is a buffet that I now have at the Merchant Village that is pictured on my page. And you'll see that it has kind of a faded look around the edges of the drawers. That's Dixie Dirt. I used Earth Dixie Dirt on that as well. And then I also have a piece on there that is a blue side table. And it's done in blueberry, and I used the Earth Dixie Dirt on that. I'm going to have to try the ash. Actually, I did use the ash. There's also a bed frame that I painted in the tea rose color, and I used the ash Dixie Dirt on that, and I still have not tried the charcoal. Again, I'm just kind of getting it all over this just to give it a more faded look rather than a straight line. And this one I typically, once I buff it, I don't really have to use my baby wipes at all because it just kind of evens itself out and gives you a pretty good look no matter what. All right, so maybe Steve, you can come in on that and just show a little bit of how that turned out. And that's before buffing it. So you see, it's going to look a little more blended after we buff it. Okay, so I'll close this up. Just give it a little bit of time to sit there. Again, we did our farmhouse tray in this, and also some other pillars. I had a lot of fun making pillars and trays over break, and you're going to see them in a lot of different colors. We used Driftwood, Hurricane Gray, Blueberry, drop cloth, of course. I always use drop cloth. We use Vintage Duck Egg, and tea rose, and a teal color from a different brand of paint that I still had left over. So I'll be posting those soon. You can see them. And while we're waiting for this to sit for a little bit. Do want to say that a lot of you already know this, but if you do want to see when I post new videos to give you new ideas or to show you how to use other products, then just hit subscribe and you will see when I post my videos. Alright, I think we're ready to buff this a little bit. Alright, so I'm just going to rub it in. Well, I'm going to do it so I can see it. Just rub it in a bit just to get it to blend and so the lines don't look so succinct. I'm pressing kind of hard, but not super hard because I don't want to, this hasn't been sealed yet and I don't want to rub the paint right off. Depending on the piece though, that's not always a bad thing. If I'm trying to give it a shabby chic look, kind of looks neat sometimes when I've rubbed some paint off. Okay, this is really dark down here, so I'm really rubbing it in. Okay, and unfortunately it's probably pretty hard to see on the camera the difference that this has made, but I'm hoping that you can see the Dixie Dirt because it really does make a pretty look. So there's just a little bit different since I buffed it. See all around here, and then you can see that. Okay, so now I'll probably let that sit for a couple hours, and then I probably will cover it with gator hide. Again, it's probably best to cover the wax with gator hide. For this, I believe that you do not want to put more wax over top of it because, again, that clear wax is going to act as an eraser. So unless you don't like what you have, you don't want to put wax over top of it. You can let it cure longer and let this be the sealant, or you can be like me and be impatient and use your gator hide to also be safe and make sure that you're not going to get chipped paint. So those are some of the uses for Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax. And as you can see, it makes painting and it makes giving your items and your pieces different looks very easy. Okay, that's it.